As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries. Welcome to another episode of Burn and Return. How's everybody doing? My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the garage tractor, but I'm going to gobble into the microphone tonight. Just kidding. Hope everyone's doing well. Alongside me, I have Ray Ito and Ryan DeMay. Gentlemen, how the hell are you two doing?
I thought we turned the CB channel to 19 there when you started talking like that, and we were going to talk about,
I'm up here at Biomarker 172. I got a little idea on the side of the road.
If we were going to do like a reefer truck necro fantasy thing, like, you play dead and lay there like you're in the morgue, and
Ryan, I'll take the reefer truck. Actually, I'll take the reefer truck. I would like the reefer truck because right now I want to be somewhere cool. Okay,
well,
I want to be somewhere cool.
The only thing is,
but not with dead bodies though.
We're gonna have to stop halfway through though, because I'm gonna get my text that my shower's ready, and then I'll be gone.
Hey, don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. I've been waiting 45 minutes, and if I don't take it down, it's going to be another 2 days before I can use it.
So don't stay cool.
Don't go nowhere fast.
Cool, bitch.
If you
just a little bit of reefer truck humor right there.
Yeah. But a reefer truck does sound nice for me, honestly. I'm not kidding about that. I am not
Clean
kidding.
Up while I'm gone. You look a little
dead.
Gangrene in your forehead?
I was gonna say, look alive. Anyway, yeah, good stuff here, man. That's one way to reefer truck humor to kick this off. We're here about Marker 172. The love stop there at the 75-40 split is just working overtime right now. Oof. By the way, speaking of, they had a late night roadblock here in Knoxville the other night. I saw they issued like 11 citations. 4 people went to jail for driving drunk in the 3-hour time that they were out there. I thought that was pretty interesting, at least, especially where they were too. It's kind of a strange part of town for them to be racking up that many people. I was like, wow, that's nuts. Anyway, I digress. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump in and check out what we got going on this week's headlines. This is just the news, and look, this is. I will give my opinion on this after I read it. Okay, so the Ohio bill would require pro teams to play on natural grass, not artificial turf. 2 Ohio lawmakers were joined by an NFL Players Union representative on Tuesday in unveiling legislation that would require the state's professional sports team to play on natural gas. The effort is clearly aimed at the Cincinnati Bengals, which installed a new, nearly $1 million synthetic field at Paycor Stadium ahead of NFL's 2024-2025 season. The Cleveland Browns and most of the state's professional baseball and soccer teams already play on grass. In defending his bill at the State House News Conference, State Rep Rodney Creech said, player safety, player safety, player safety. The Western Ohio Republican who majored in agronomy and runs a turfgrass business appeared with his co-sponsor, Democratic State Rep Terrence Upchurch of Cleveland, and a representative of the NFL Players Association, which is pushing for similar requirements nationally. The bill would require that playing surfaces be comprised of not less than 90% natural gas. At a scant 2 pages, it sets no deadline for compliance, nor contains any penalties for violators. The Bengals are among teams choosing to approve soft plastic grass surfaces that look and feel increasingly like the real thing over natural gas, which is costly to maintain. The team said in a statement, it is aware of the proposed legislation and will continue to monitor it. We'll go on about it. Look, it's one thing for the union to come together and make a decision to say, hey, look, we want to play on natural gas. And look, as a business owner, this is one of those things. If your customer, if your employees are asking for some sort of change, especially when your product is the players, that is literally the product is the players, right? And the product is recommending natural grass, then I don't understand why not listen to your product, right? I mean, you want the best product to put out into the world, and if you give a shit about it, and that's what they say they need, then that was what you do. But the fact that government has to step in and regulate this to be a certain way just chaps my ass. I do not understand why it has to be regulated by the government to make it a reality. And that's just what chaps my ass. Great. Look, we've got something that, a bipartisan agreement has been able to reach on, which is a very rare thing, right? But again, like, why does it have to be regulated by the government? Can't they do this on their own?
Oh my goodness. And you know what, Matt? Unfortunately, that name is familiar to me. Rodney Creech. Oh boy. Oh boy.
How do you know
I
him?
know the guy. I know the guy
Oh.
rather well. And basically, he and I have been at it for almost 2 decades now.
Uh-oh.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Explain. I'm curious.
Okay. He's one of the lawn site guys.
Oh,
Rodney Creech is one of the lawn site guys?
Yes.
No way.
Yes way. Yes way.
how do we find him on the lawn site? What's his name on there?
R. Creech. I
Oh
mean,
my
boy.
goodness.
yeah. I mean, he and I have been at it because basically I told him, hey, why not do better and not just be another True Green wannabe? In an essence. Okay. Yeah. So.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
how's that,
no,
guys?
he's here.
How's that, guys? I mean, isn't that funny?
Oh boy. Okay. Over 500 results.
Yeah, that
Well,
is.
there's gonna have to be some background. There's gonna have to be some background done.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a little digging around over here. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be scoping out that post history.
Yeah, for sure. That might be the number one thing that blows my flipping mind this year, that Ray knows who Rodney Creech. I know Rodney Creech.
You see that when I saw that name come up, I thought, oh Lord, and it would be highly likely of him to have this kind of a interesting take on this issue. Okay,
now
it was just
for those scoring at home, Ray. For those that don't know, because there are people that probably don't. Can you just give a quick 30 to 60 second synopsis of what lawn site is, what it was, and sort of what it became?
Okay,
I'm sure Matt can chime in here too.
Okay, what lawn site was in another time is that it was a forum for lawn care professionals where we shared ideas, we uplifted each other for the most part, and then it evolved into something else where certain people just had a dominant voice. And the long and short of it is that I and several other members basically got called crazy and out there, for lack of a better description, because we didn't follow the industry standards and norms. We wanted to do something different. We wanted to do something better. And there, I yield the floor.
Yeah, Lawn Sight was, it always had a touch of toxicity, but it continued to get wilder and wilder. And again, I'll just say random names I remember. Ted Putnam, Wriggle was one of the old ones. Fast Hound was one of them. American Lawn was another one, and it's kind of the.
I'm going to give you another one where this was the example of, for lack of a better description, a real toxic ass, and he called himself Skipster.
Yeah, Skipster.
Yeah, what a toxic person. And
I remember that.
I
name
call him
too.
he was the master of gaslighting. Okay, master of it.
and it got crazy, right? And like a lot of these things, and it happened in Facebook groups. It just happens is that there's a core group of people that do things in a very similar way. And if you don't fall into that category, then you become ostracized, right? You have to have a certain set of ways that you do things. You have to use a certain set of tools. You have to use a certain subsector of products, and if it's outside of the scope, then it's you're an idiot. Log off and delete your account is how you get responded to with everything you say, and so it becomes toxic. I digress. I'm totally getting sidetracked there. Anyway, that was Lawn Sight. It was. I don't think anyone uses it anymore to the degree it was. It's definitely not like 2008 Lawn Sight, which is back in probably its prime. Maybe 07, 08 was its prime. But that being said, DeMay, this is up near you. What kind of are you hearing anything else outside of this, or is it just one of those things like, okay, we're going to pass a bill because it looks good that we came together and decided on something, but there's no plans to enforce it and there's no timeline on it. So is it just like a pat head and kiss babies thing?
I think a little bit. I think it's a way to introduce it and not have it get sort of wrapped up in something bigger, larger, whatever off the bat. So if nothing else, it's exposure. With the way that the state legislature works here, they're in a summer recess right now, and they don't come back and won't really do anything until like November to start passing bills, right? They've got a bunch of other work they've got to do when they come back from summer recess. So the likelihood that this passes this year is extremely low. And further, I think what they're saying is that if public funds are going to be used for these stadiums, that they don't want public funds to be used for synthetic turf. So I don't know if there's going to be, so they're not real clear on if the owner of the Bengals, for example, Mike Brown, says, hey, I'm going to use my own money. Don't worry about it. Even though it's a county owned facility that gets state tax dollars, like, we're going to put it in and I'll pay for it. There's not a whole lot in there about the mechanics of that would work. All that being said, there are some pretty high money groups that are going to line up against this if it has any traction whatsoever. Namely one that goes by the acronym NFL. I'm pretty sure that they'll put a pretty significant amount of money behind making sure that this goes away, because I don't think that their owners want to be told what to do in any state. And if they don't stick up for one, then they don't stick up for them all, and everything goes to shit. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
it's interesting to me. I think, in all honesty, my personal opinion, it should go the way of the players. They're the ones that live and die on this stuff, and so I think that's where the decision should make. Definitely not in the hands of state regulators. But that's just totally my personal opinion on the whole thing. The next one here, researchers evaluate imazapic growth suppression on hybrid Bermuda grass. Turfgrass managers use PGRs to reduce mowing requirements, suppress inflorescence in production, and improve overall turfgrass quality. The 5 primary types of PGRs used are Class A's. These are gibberellic acid, biosynthesis, suppression agents. I mean, really, they all are. But there are different points of the pathway. You got phytohormones, herbicides with growth regulating properties, then cell division inhibitors. Imazapic is an herbicide used for pre and post merge to control grassy broadleaf weeds in various systems, including maize, rangeland, pastures, and roadsides. Past research explored imazapic efficacy for seed head suppression and managed utility turfgrass. Reductions in labor availability have challenged many turfgrass managers to meet the mowing requirements of Bermuda grass on golf courses. So they attempted to use imazapic as a PGR. So they started at greater than ½ ounce an acre and saw that it reduced Bahia grass plant height by more than 30%. However, these applications resulted in 30 to 50 day injury through 119 days after initial treatment. At a ½ ounce per acre, it only injured 23% 14 days after treatment, and into 4% at 56 days after treatment. And then with Riviera Bermuda grass at 3/4 of an ounce, it was less than 15% injury, reduced inflorescence production, and suppressed growth. And so anyway, they went through this, and it looks like there is some validity in being able to do this with certain cultivars of Bermuda grass. And I recommend you go through it on here. Right, and this is what I was going to talk to you about, gentlemen. I think this is one of those things of creative, outside the box thinking that may allow you to cut down on the number of tools that you carry in the toolbox, with precision applications, being able to catch things, whether it be extension of pre-emergent applications or even some slight post-emergent weed control type applications that you can put down that can also offer growth suppression, and where it may not be viable to do it in a high performance situation, say like on an approach at the end of a fairway or whatever, but for roughs or something, I don't know, it seems like that this is another tool in the toolbox that, if you think creatively, could help you cut down on the number of SKUs and overall cost per acre that you end up employing to keep things in a playable condition. There, it's kind of my thought.
I think that's why they're looking at things like this, is what other tools are out there, and it's not I'm gonna say it's not getting easier. I think golf is starting to turn a little bit of a corner, where they're using this using labor better and more efficiently and things like that, but they're not going to be in the driver's seat for too long. I think it's going to swing back the other way. I think that they're going to have to get back to utilizing some of the tools that have always been available, and not just how do I want to say this, Ray? Things that are done for you, not with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, things that are done for you. However, with herbicides or PGRs like imazapic, here's the hurdle that you have to overcome. Extensive, and I repeat, extensive amounts of phytotoxicity. Because, guys, I've actually used PGRs like this. I mean, let me name a few. Low-rate imazapic, and my favorite is a sulfonylurea herbicide known as sulfometron.
Time's up. It's over.
Can you imagine a non-high-end turf area or grass area where basically that stuff doesn't grow for the next 6 to 12 months? It doesn't look great, but it also doesn't need a lot of attention. That's what something like this can do. Because you know what happens at this application rate of imazapic? A lot of your common weeds are also controlled, because remember, imazapic is a herbicide, and it just so happens that Bermuda grass, for example, tolerates imazapic at a higher rate than a lot of your common weeds. Just keep this in mind. However, caveat to this is that anything you hit with imazapic, I would not want to have that in front of the front yard of somebody that has very high expectations as to what their lawn looks like. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I'm just saying it. I heard that, Ryan.
Matt, tell me that I'm wrong. That there's probably some places in the South that have Bermuda lawns that you could offer the imazapic program to, as long as you had some catchy, cool name to it. And be like, listen,
I would do it.
I'm going to make it
Ryan,
so you don't have to mow for
I would
a few
do it.
months.
You know, in the South, in the Southern United States, like in around Knoxville or whatever, Matt, I could totally imagine doing this. I totally could. Because it depends on
I'll
what
say like
people expect.
Yeah. Like if you're way out into the counties, and for example, when like I used to treat a lot of properties in North Mississippi, and I mean there was no concern for color whatsoever. It was always zero weeds, clean, as humanly possible. They didn't want to cut it,
And short, and keep it short, right? Ooh, that sounds
sometimes it wasn't, but it was more so. It was just they did not want to see weeds, right? And so, and this is back in the MSMA days too, and so a lot of times that's what you were doing, as going out there every month and just absolutely hammering it with MSMA. Doing the slow walk at pressure turned up to 160 psi, right? And just absolutely full scorched earth. So,
do you know what imazapic
100%.
and imazapyr are good for? Do you know what imazapic and imazapyr are actually good for, Matt? Controlling inflorescence on things like Dallas grass. It'll control it. I mean, and it can control it at rates that are not going to be fatal to, say, common Bermuda, kept mode high. Like, you could deploy this half-ounce per acre imazapic over high-cut Bermuda without torching it. It'll tolerate it.
Yep. The last one here is so we let's see. I'm gonna try and do this. So it's kind of interesting. We've got Nutrien that is down because of sluggish market here. Their financial results came in, 13% drop in revenue, 8% contraction margins, contraction in margins, 13% decrease in net earnings. They closed 21 Brazilian retail stores during the quarter. So a big shrinking of Nutrien. Does that, and what they're talking about is here from an investment purpose, so Nutrien's down 52% from their all-time highs. And for those of you who know, Nutrien is a Canadian company. It was the merger of Potash Corp and Agrium, and so what that means is that they own potash mines, they own a lot of actual ammonia production plants, and have access to a fair amount of phosphorus just through global market moving of materials, right? So, while they're down right now, I will say this, commodities have absolutely fallen off a cliff, especially with corn and grain. And this is arguably, this is a horrific time in that space. Absolutely horrific. There is not a farmer in America right now that is pleased. We have zero demand. We have absolutely flush supply. We're about to have a record corn harvest yield. China's imports from the United States are down 93% on the year. And it is not good. This is one of the all-time bads of ag economics, because and it's not from crop damage, it's not from bad weather, it's from everything going right, and then there's zero buyers. And why are there zero buyers? Well, It's a great question, and I don't think anybody knows the exact answer on this. As the prices continue to fall, and what's nuts is, again, China is normally our big buyer there, and after the whole trade war thing kicked off, they have slowly shifted buying over to Latin America, and it's just continued to grow there. In fact, the last couple flash sales to China of grain that we've seen have been in old crop. So they're not even going after new crop. I mean, they're going after bottom of the barrel old crop, and it's not good. The only thing that is propping up grain right now is sustainable air fuel. So again, that's very corn dominant usage. There's going to be a lot of conversion over to ethanol to be able to produce the SAF, but is that going to generate the type of demand to correct the market situation that we're in? No. And here's the thing: is with that much flush inventory that farmers are holding on to, does that mean they're going to be buying a lot of nitrogen? Nope, not at all. So nitrogen demand right now isn't exactly high because the until prices on nitrogen drop low enough to be able to profitably grow corn, then you're not going to see it, right? So of course it makes perfect sense that we've seen companies like Nutrien absolutely fall off the cliff. Now I'll say this is that you have like CF Industries that is global, that is still hanging on and doing well because it's not necessarily in all parts of the world that this is falling apart, right? So, for example, Nutrien is a trader of some CF Industries ammonia and urea and ammonium nitrate and stuff. So it's not that the sector as a whole is killed, right? Because you still have big buyers in Brazil and Argentina that are absolutely doing well right now. It's just in the U.S., our ag economics are not good. And there's not a farmer in America right now that is pleased with the way things are going because it is not possible to be profitable this year. Completely not. Think about how many acres are planted, millions of acres are planted in the United States, and none are profitable in grain. It's not good. It is not good at all. And so, while they look at the rest of the markets and everyone's talking about, oh, yeah, economy's ripping and roaring, we got to cool down the economy because, everything's tracking, a little too well right now. Ag is looking around and they're like, man, we're fucked. We are absolutely fucked. We leveraged our credit during COVID to increase our storage capacity because that was the recommendation of just about every land grant university across America and ag economist employed by land grant universities. And so they did. They got new dryers, and then the rest of it, they invested in equipment to streamline their farms. And then you have a couple good yields back to back after that, and then you trade away and your buyers, your major importers of what you typically produce, and now you've got upside down supply and demand economics, and everyone is hurting. And what's crazy, it's absolutely insane to me, is that no one is talking about this in the news, not at all. And it's absolutely hilarious to me that you don't see it in the news. Of every economic discussion that we're talking about, why in the hell are we not talking about the state of agriculture in the United States right now? Fuck if I know. I can't answer that question. If, for example, Mark just here said, does that relate to why I just pay way less for AMS than I have in the last 3 years? Yeah, absolutely. And now AMS is a little different, right? Because you've got ammonia and you also have sulfuric acid. So you got to track sulfuric acid costs as well, too. Sulfuric acid is used in a lot of other industries other than just ammonium sulfate production, right? And so there's shit tons of industrial uses for it, and it is nowhere near as volatile as like ammonia can be. And right now, ammonia is volatile, and that's why you're probably seeing the price on AMS softening. You're not going to see it swing as wildly as like urea does, right? Which is just a straight commodity. AMS is not necessarily considered a commodity. Technically, it is, but it's not because you've got some other things in there. So anyway, point being is that it's I don't know, it's wild. If anyone knows any farmers right now, I'm just curious. Go have a conversation with them. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them, what their yield's going to look like. I'm sure they're going to be like, oh yeah, yield's going to be great this year. Did you get plenty of rain? Yeah, I got plenty of rain. Everything looks good. We're going to bring in 220, 230 bushel an acre this year. Yeah, what's your ROI on that? Negative 10%.
Yikes.
I mean, the lucky ones are going to be the ones we've got. A decent chunk of Ohio that's in a moderate to severe drought. The lucky ones are going to be the ones that get crop insurance this year. Like that's really it sounds really counterintuitive, but this is going to be the one year where it didn't rain and you actually end up even Stevens, right? Everybody else right now is selling at record low prices to clear out their bins so they can have capacity to put this stuff that's hopefully you can wait and time the market, but it's going to take a while for that to come back. A while. And part of that too, I mean, there's what's the guy's name? Down there, National Standard Grain,
Standard
or whatever
Grain.
he calls himself.
Yeah.
Yes. He's got some theories, everything like that. There's a lot out there, but a lot of it just has to do with overseas buying, right? And how the shell game and who you believe is very much, I think, aligns with political ideology on this, where if you think it is just the way that the cookie is crumbled, or if you think that there is something afoot, basically, kind of a conspiracy, multinational conspiracy to kind of box out the United States from selling a lot overseas. And I'm going to steer into the conspiracy real quick, and this is going to be a nonpartisan conspiracy. And the reason why is that the tariff game that has been played has been established and upheld and expanded by two opposing parties. So in a bipartisan unilateral type method, we had tariffs established and then expanded. So it only makes sense that if you have capacity and you have the buying power and you have an economy that is slowing significantly, and I don't think anybody's going to look at China's economy right now and say, man, it is doing great. Wish we had that going on here. No one is saying that right now. That in their best interest, would they, knowing these tariffs are in place, continue to import from the U.S. when everything that's coming out of China is being tariffed? And then, for example, whether it be EVs, whether it be lithium, whether it be steel, whether it be industrial equipment, whether it be fertilizer that's on the shelf for export out of China, and you're going to hit, for example, I mean, an AMS dump fee for if you wanted to export AMS out of China, they have a dump fee on it, right? And that's the idea of dumping it in the ocean. So they have a dump fee on it, and it can be upward as much as 50%. So say you're buying AMS at $250 a ton, you're not going to land it until it's at $375, plus you have transport costs, right? I mean, this is the reality here, and I just can't see how this is not a political, a global policy retribution. Because again, if a company was going to if a country was going to place tariffs on me, I would do the exact same thing. Say, fuck you, I'm not going to buy from you. The same thing happens in business all day long. If someone wants to play games with me like that, and I've got other people I can buy from, you've got good yields that are coming out of Argentina, and Argentina's starting to roar. You think things look good coming out of there? The fuck would I pay additional? That's just going to be tariffed the holy hell out of everything I make from that company. So it just makes sense that they respond that way. I mean, I would do the exact same thing. So to pretend like I'm not directing this at you, DeMay. In my opinion, anyone that says this is just how the cookie crumbles, I think is just playing absolute ignorance as to what's going on. Agreed. And if you go back and trace it back to how this all materialized, Like, this wasn't just all at once. These were dominoes that started falling in very specific ways, very specific countries that were like, oh, hey, you're not going to do that. And at first, you're just like, oh, that's okay. And then as more dominoes fall, you're like, wait a second. This is beyond just a coincidence. This is a coordinated effort in which, China, South America, there's a lot of moving parts, right, that just don't involve the US anymore. So, the question is going to be is, yeah, the government subsidies, the farm bill, all that kind of stuff do have a role to play, right? To keep we absolutely have to have strong agriculture, but there are going to be a ton, and I'm telling you, it's not. It's going to be all the farmers that I know have basically said, 6 months. It's going to really get bad. 6 months from now is when the shit will hit the fan. Everybody will really figure out where they're at. They'll plow through the rest of this year, pun not intended, and then first part of next year is going to be really bad.
When they go back to the bank to get their money to plant is when all hell breaks loose.
Yep. It's going to go real bad, real fast. But ironically, though, here's the thing to think about. In spite of all of this surplus in supply, it's interesting how livestock, such as chicken, beef, and pork, keeps on going up and up and up. And eggs and milk.
Keep eating it, Ray.
Huh? What did you
say?
Because
you keep eating it all.
What? Me? Yes, true. I'll admit.
The good news on that, Ray, is that we're starting to see some softening in cattle futures. I know. For example, feeder cattle is coming down. When does that reach us? Who knows? But I think a lot of it. And again, I'm going to sound awfully conspiracy theorist here, but I think a lot of that is what's being priced in is regulation expectation, right? And we saw chaos in the EU when it came to it, and to pretend like that's not going to happen here is a little bit, I'm just saying, you can't help but deny that some of that's going to be priced in, right? Because when cattle is up, 150 to 250, over the last, couple of years, and it's just been hovering around there since, the start of election season, we'll call it that way, right? And you can pretty much track it, cattle prices, with the momentum of the campaigns. How about that? You can pull up a year-to-date chart and take a look at it and just see how it tracks there. So, it is what it is. It's reality of the situation, but I want to make it very clear. You don't hear it in the news right now, and with Latin America, these are some of the other things that are boiling in the underground. Is that you've got the GMO ban in Mexico that's coming. You have talks of a glyphosate ban in Mexico that's just kind of lingering in the underground. All of that is going to affect import, exports, and trade agreements between the U.S. and Mexico. And again, that is another big trade partner of ours. We can pretend like we're gonna isolate from the world and everything's gonna be great, but we're not, because we simply produce too much in the United States to not have a home to put it. We rely on exports to be able to move shit and remain profitable. And if we can't do that at a profit, and you may look at this and be like, oh yeah, everything's gonna get cheap again. Yeah. Hyper deflation is not going to be a good time at all.
It'll be horrible.
I don't care who you are. If we lose agriculture, recession. Yeah, it's recession talk, all over again, and it's going to be one that I don't think that a lot of people are prepared for, unless you went through the 2008 era, right? And I know some of our listeners did not go through the 2008 era in the same way that like the three of us here did, right? And I mean, we're late 30s, 40s, Ray's 150, so Ray has seen everything from Noah's Ark to now, but he also has a memory of an elephant, so he remembers everything in extreme detail. But point being was that for 3 years we got to watch what homes were like being foreclosed on, and to pretend like that isn't lingering. I'm not saying that it's going to happen at all. I mean, there's always a way out, but to pretend like that isn't lingering in the background, and that we're closer to it than we are far away from it. We can get all the jobs data that looks good that we want, but I mean, again, you come back with one metric off, like farm making a run on banks, and boy, it can get real ugly real fast. We saw it on Black Monday the other day. We saw what happened when people pull money out of even international markets real fast. It gets really weird, really quick, and it seems like there's no catalyst for it because, well, price dictates the market. There we are. I'm rambling. We need to move on with the show. Let's check out this week's Joe Knows Turf.
Joe Knows Turf. Hi, I'm Joe. I'm gonna give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today because Joe knows turf.
Joe may know turf, but there are a growing number of individuals who, I'm not going to say they don't know it, but are playing with fire. And what I mean by that is that they are growing backyard putting greens. Now, I'm not here to shit all over everybody that has a backyard putting green, but I do want to highlight how quickly things can turn south, and some of the bad things that might happen, guys. I'm trying to curtail the swearing here in an effort to save the channel. It's the best I can do. Right
Make
now.
swearing great
All right.
again.
Oh God, it just feels good. It's like pulling that compound bow back, man. God, it's a release. Every F-bomb is like a 35-pound trigger for me. All right. So that being said, let's roll this from. By the way, season 1 award winner, and I don't know what we called the award. I can't remember. It's been so long. But season 1 award winner of the show's just idiot stuff that people do. I think this was like pre-Joe Knows Turf that we featured Jimmy Lewis rinsing his backpack sprayer filled with Diamond rinse safe right down the curb gutter. So we'll see if we can pull
right
that
down
footage.
the storm drain. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get that in there. But all right, let's go ahead and watch. This is Jimmy Lewis talking about his backyard putting green that is really no longer a putting green. And the for those of you that are audio only, the caption here is painful. And Ray, I would say that the foreground photo of what's left of the putting green is in fact painful.
Now, what do you say? 35%
the
coverage?
course of the last,
maybe.
Try more like 10.
Yeah.
10 to 15, I think.
Gentlemen,
maybe.
The good news here, there's an old saying amongst golf course superintendents that nothing rolls faster than dirt. So if we're going for speed, we're already in the right neighborhood.
Well, we got a 21 on stem meter.
And you can't smoke cigarettes out here because the entire yard will go up in flames.
a couple of videos I've been telling you about how I've been treating fungus that I found in my lawn, and as you can see, a couple weeks later, we're just about back to normal. So
was that fungus?
I don't know.
No.
Like it looked like scotched a leaf blight or something of the sort. Or just really dry. It could be fert burn too. I don't know.
Dry.
Pretty quick. Pretty quick blurb.
It's more dry.
It did have an odd shape.
Trampoline. Set down on the ground.
Yeah,
nice.
Subsurface trampoline.
All right, let's play it here.
Fungicide application worked extremely well, and I've been fertilizing it. I put down an application of fertilizer about a week or so ago, and we're looking just fantastic. It's been a really, really nice recovery. I couldn't be happier with how it's going. But today I want to talk about the putting green. It is not recovering as quickly as the rest of the backyard. So I want to address that and show you the different approach that I'm going to take there. Here we go. So when this whole fungus thing started here, I first noticed something was up with the putting green. It started on the putting green. Now the putting green, for those of you who don't know, haven't been following along, it's V8 bent grass.
Okay. I'm not on it, and this isn't July 14th. I'm not there the day of, and I will not be there. I don't think Jimmy's going to be inviting us over anytime soon. However, Ray, I know you've never grown bent grass before, but this just looks like dry bent grass.
It looks really dry. It's almost.
It looks to me crispy. It looks crispy, and this sounds
looks like the baseline at Wimbledon.
Like somebody wasn't keeping up with their necessary watering. Because, Ryan, what are the odds that somebody like him would try to do the deep and infrequent deal on a bent green, knowing what he doesn't know?
Yeah, and I don't know. That would be a question I'd want to ask him, is what his irrigation practices were leading into this. And so part of this is not to just, sit here and rail on Jimmy. Part of this is that we've seen a lot more folks take this on, right?
Yeah.
And
try it, and do it,
and try it. And I've seen people be very successful. There's people on our Discord that are highly successful with it. However, I don't know if they've all had to go through tough times, and it's really what happens in those tough times.
They have. They have. I mean, and I've even heard the stories on the Discord where I open it in my morning, and it's probably their afternoon, and they're, oh my God, I didn't water it enough, and I went on vacation, not enough irrigation when I was out of town for a week, and now my bent green is crispy. I've seen that, okay? It has happened, and that just tells me it don't take much. And Ryan, do you know why I'm looking at that half or that 2/3 that looks especially dry? Do you know what's standing out to me?
Tell me.
Possibility of heat reflected off of the structure and the fence. Because, no, let me tell you guys something. For me personally, do you know what I don't like to be standing near on a sunny day? Neither a white vinyl fence or a house. I just don't want that, because dear Ray here will get cooked alive if I stand near that.
I just want to ask you, looking at that, JP, can you hit play? Maybe back up 10
putting
seconds.
Green, for those of you who don't know,
does it look like there's enough output out of that irrigation head?
So
I don't know if it's running a single head at a time, because that's what kind of flow he's got.
Oh, that's a still frame. Okay, it's not actually running. That's a still frame. Okay, so yeah, definitely can't get a good visual representation on that. My fault.
It's okay. Doesn't look good.
If you don't know,
all right,
haven't been following along, it's V8 bent grass. It's a mono stand.
That is a video.
No,
that was weird.
Yeah, back up real quick. Go back to that. Let's see the back of the shed. So the other thing too that's really interesting here is that with bent grass and seeing
ball,
seeing
there's a green patch
disease on bent grass. You don't see typically a lot of diseases outside of like Pythium, right? Maybe dollar spot, something like that. But this is a dollar spot that are omnivorous, right? And what the word omnivorous means is that they'll just hit any kind of grass that's out there. They don't give a shit what it is, right? You've got dead, dry, wilting turf back here by this shed, which Ray is also putting out a lot of heat. It's a darker blue color. It's drawing down a lot more heat.
Yes,
right? And then right there along the fence, that high cut is all
heat. It's all fried too, guys. I mean, that's what I noticed, is that his fringe non-play area looks rather toasty to me as well. And as I said, my least favorite place to stand on a sunny day is next to a structure or a white vinyl fence, because that's how to cook Ray to death. Plain and simple.
Or drive her after he's visited an airport food court. Not somewhere I'd want to be standing either. So I want you to look at one more thing here too. Is in the corner there, the far corner back there by the hitting tee, is that green patch right there.
Yeah, that is what's standing out.
A significant amount of money, that's where a sprinkler head is. And I'll bet you that sprinkler head is not putting out enough water in the stream that it needs. So it could be nozzled incorrectly. I don't know. I'm just theorizing here. But there's probably a sprinkler head there, and it's getting enough water right in that little area.
I'm looking at something too, and you know, based on how these rotor heads are working, this is like what I tell the guys on the Discord all the time, is that, you know, when you have a residential irrigation system, over under odds are you don't have the pressure to run single stream rotors. Especially if especially if, guys, your water supply is capped out at 40 or 50 psi incoming. By the time it gets to the head, you're down to like 35 psi. And you know, these single stream rotors, do you know what they want in order to operate optimally? Do you know what they actually want?
55 minimum.
55 at the head, right, Ryan? 60 is even better, right? I mean, I know single stream rotors, so then what happens is that when you don't have enough pressure, you have these, because you know what? You know when the J-Pink had it running before this, you know, the video running before this, I noticed how low the pressure on the sprinklers was. I noticed. That's not enough pressure.
Yeah, you can see the stream there. Just does not look very impressive.
Okay, that would be me
CT stream
at age 75 trying to pee. Okay, maybe.
There it is. There it is.
Well, that's only 24 years and about 2,000 prostate massages still done. So, time. And
knows, right,
I also
Ryan?
want to point out, just for our friend Timothy Bluegrass, to note the chain link fence is there to keep all of our reefer truck friends in the backyard. All right, let's keep going here.
Putting green, for those of you who don't know, haven't been following along, it's V8 bent grass. It's a mono stand, so it's all the same variety of grass. So if it gets infected with anything, the whole thing's going to get it, as opposed to a mix of grasses where some varieties would be able to handle it, others not so much, but it wouldn't do as much.
I don't know. It runs all the way up. The surround closest to the building there, is that V8 too? Because it's also scorched. It definitely looks not the same color or texture as the V8.
So there's having a monostand in a green is not something that is irregular at all. It happens all the time.
Normal. It's normal, right, Ryan?
If you want some good fun reading, go look up, for those of you nerds that want to hear about death and destruction on turfgrass, go look up Toronto bentgrass C15. Back in the 80s, there was an epidemic of bacterial infections with Toronto C15 that made it just get wiped out. But we haven't seen that since, so okay, let's continue on.
Some varieties would be able to handle it, others not so much, but it wouldn't do as much damage. That's the intent of having a mix of grass rather than a monostand. So learning the ways of the monostand, but considering mixing it up a little bit. Stay tuned for that. But today I want to talk about how I'm going to fix this. So I mentioned that I did a fungicide application. This has gotten a couple of fungicide applications, but my thought process is that this happened so early that it just was too late when I started trying to cure it. It was too late in the process. It was too far gone, and some of this is just not coming back the way the rest of the yard did. Not at all. I am noticing that as I mow it, and yes, I'm still mowing it, and it's kind of a painful process to mow the putting green in this condition, but here we are. But as I've mowed it often, I've noticed that it's trying to spread and fill in. Bent grass is trying to do its thing. But when you get close down to the surface here, it's just really starting to crack. The surface is starting to crack. It's kind of blocking the good grass from having anywhere to grow. And so I want to fix that today.
Yeah, because it's dry, my friend.
Timmy,
If your
it's the only
soil
thing
is
got above the
cracking,
surface of the whole property.
look,
So
I'm
here we
not,
go.
I'm
This is
not
the
an
plant.
expert, but if it's cracking, is that usually a sign that you have adequate moisture or inadequate moisture? I'm just going to throw that out there.
I don't know that you need to be a soil physicist to figure out that. Probably need, give a little bit of water.
Cracking,
You're
yeah.
not going to push. Stolons ain't going to get this done. Let's just say that.
Oh no, in the state it's in right now. But I mean,
I
like
know. Yeah.
I mean, that should be a sign that, like, is it disease? Are we sure about that? Because we're cracking.
Yeah, I mean, because normally when I see cracked soil, I mean, I'm going to get on somebody's butt about a deep and infrequent watering schedule that's allowing the grass to dry down too much and causing extreme stress to the grass. And here's what I look at too. Areas that have extreme amounts of reflected heat, they need even more water. And you know where else I've seen grass need even more water? Right next to the condenser units on ACs, because you know what's blowing out of those ACs all day long?
Hot air.
Hot air. So I'm kind of thinking, nope, a deep and infrequent watering is not going to make it if you have all of these heat sources baking the grass out every day. And you have cracked soil, that's your receipt that tells you've got a problem.
Mm.
And
All right.
I've got
So
the Ryobi.
we've got the Ryobi. We've got Sad John Perry's favorite tool in the shed.
best.
Scarfire
this-
here, and I'm just going to tear this up, and I'm going to get out as much of this
John P.
stuff,
I
dead
got to say
material,
this live on it.
unwanted
John P. just
material that's
said,
in the
maybe it needs a soil test, gypsum, calcium carbonates, and a light lab app, possibly. That's a good
Light
callback,
lime.
John P. That's a good one.
way.
All the above.
Clear it out and see how that goes, and see how the grass responds and starts filling in, if any better. So this is an experiment. My whole life is an experiment, especially with the grass, but we'll try this. We'll see how it
N
goes.
equals 1. I get it. Man, I would just give it another boost and put some seed down, man. Dude, if you're
was gonna
blowing
say,
that
just-
much dust up, it's not wet enough. I'm telling you right now. That is not wet enough. You have a water issue, not a disease issue. Look at the grass in the surround. You see
Yeah.
the surrounds? It's three
Crispy.
shades of dark, compared to the rest of the grass. And the reason why is it's because it's dry as hell. There's no
it's just,
succulent growth there at all.
The green looks like it's been embalmed.
Yeah, literally.
Yikes.
Look at the color differential between the delta
you know.
between this grass right here in the foreground and the grass in the background is astronomical. I mean, Jimmy. Okay, so I think Jimmy is so in the weeds on this that he can't see the forest for the trees. He saw it in the yard. He made the decision that it's disease, and he's running his irrigation system, and it's corrected in the lawn. Therefore, it must correct the same way in the golf green. And these are not singular systems that you're dealing with. The golf green is its own independent system compared to the rest of your lawn. And in fact, I'll say this. The golf green is an independent system of your surround, is an independent system of your lawn, and there needs to be a different approach. So just because you have disease in your lawn, and I'm not going to get into the debate over whether or not you did, but what is reality is that you can't take the same approach because it worked in my lawn. Therefore, it must work on my golf green. And I think, Jimmy, person to person, I think you're being a bit too reductionist in taking that approach. This is a water issue, my friend. 100%.
For sure. For sure. I'd say agree.
It dusted his camera out.
Okay, so that is all done, cleaned up, blown off, and I think I'm gonna mow it.
Nice and
I'm just gonna
dry,
finish
right,
it off,
Matt?
finishing touch, put some semi-visible stripes in there, see how it looks to just close this out. I think this is gonna help. Time will tell. We'll give it a month or so before the temperatures cool down. It's been like 95 degrees lately, and I'm still doing this.
What?
Because like I said, experiment.
95
We'll see what
degrees?
happens. But I just want to kind of see if this helps the bent grass spread a little bit better. I think it will. I'm going to put down some fertilizer too. I use the Ultra Greens grade of the 1704 from ProPete. Stuff is dust, and it gets down into the sand base here, into the root zone very easy.
Verticutting bent grass
95
at 95 degrees.
95 degree heat.
DeMay, like how often
Would
did
you do that?
Never. Not as often as I go to the not as often as I go to the truck stop.
Oh. No, I'm just wondering because you see, I wouldn't feel bad about tearing up a Bermuda green or a C-sharp paspalum green in 95 degree temperatures, but I know bent grass is an entirely different creature.
Yeah, it's trying to die. Like physiologically, it wants to die. You're like, please, it's begging to end my life. I don't want to do this anymore. May Lord have mercy on my soul and let me just go in peace. And Jimmy's like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna fertilize you, and we're gonna verticut you. We're gonna rip you up, and you're gonna like it. And I gotta say, it's an odd approach. It is. This is the opposite of basically everything that grass ever wanted. Cool C3 plants. Typically 85 degrees there. It's kind of your upper threshold of it, but. Boy, 96, you're really testing the limits of the genetics there. Jimmy,
Survival,
I'm not gonna lie, like you're kind of out of your element, Donnie. Like I don't think these are good judgment calls that you're making, and I get it. You're not a turfgrass guy. You're having fun, and so I'm trying to guide you in a little bit of difference here. Like I think you're way overcomplicating this, Jimmy. Way overcomplicating this because you don't like the situation it's in. And trust me, Jimmy, I'm one to talk. When I get into a high pressure, high stress situation, I make bad decisions because I act before I think, or I obsessively think about something, and then I get so far into the details, I miss the entire fucking topic of what I'm trying to solve. I just letting F words fly, Matt. Doing a terrible job of the no cussing thing. Just terrible. The worst. Anyway, Jimmy, dude, start at the easiest to control. Let's look at mechanics. Let's look at cultural practice. For God's sake, brother, take a look at your irrigation system. Put some damn water on it. Well, at this point, it's dead. It's not coming back. And then you just verticut it to make sure the crowns are just absolutely smoked. So let's try and get to seed season and get you some new bent down. And then if you're ever in 96 degree weather again, before we even get to there, before you even establish seed, do a little audit on your irrigation there. Do a significant audit on your irrigation because I'm not highly convinced that is disease at all, like even a little bit. So I digress. Okay. Real quick, if you're into this kind of thing, check us out. Burnerreturn.com, patreon.com/burnerreturn. I'm a babbling brook. We do have a couple of new members. Welcome. Thank you for coming aboard the Soul Train. One of the cool things about it is that it's not just us. It's a community of individuals. I'll say this: it is mostly men. It's a community of men that have one interest alone, and that is learning more. It used to be solely about grass, but it has extended so far beyond grass. It's absolutely insane. There is an expert. What I love about it is that there is an expert for just about any topic that you want to talk about. I mean, it ranges the gamut, and I will say that it's amazing how many experts. It is a truly humbling experience to see that many experts all come together, and so I'm very proud of it. Patreon.com/burn and return. It's cheap. Check it out. In the meantime, let's check out this week's burns. All right, J-Ping, I'm skipping the first one. I'm going to go to the second one here because this is probably more pertinent instead of just the laughs. Fall armyworms pose a potential threat to region. I am seeing more and more out of this. It's that time of year where fall armyworms start making their way into West Tennessee as they migrate from southern Texas and Florida, and they are lively going after Bermuda grass and pasture lands. So if we are moving into West Tennessee as of a few days ago, so we're talking about this is going to range anywhere from Memphis up to UT Martin, just outside the Jackson, Tennessee area, and further north, you're going to be in Bowling Green, Kentucky, probably by now. And so that means we are not far away, a week or two away, probably from reaching, places in Indiana. That is southern Ohio's probably a couple weeks away. I'd say we're probably 3 weeks away from somewhere like PA. Just saying, if you're not ready, the potential is there right now because it is August. We still got a lot of heat left. That means we got a fair amount of time left on the life cycles of the armyworms here. They're going to be making their way in. So the other thing to keep an eye on too is if we start getting some significant storms coming up in the Gulf, it seems to accelerate things significantly faster, right? So they give you a little notes here. If the grass has a frosted appearance, you see like frass and all that fun stuff. If your yard seems to be overwhelmingly covered in birds, and the grass just seems to just magically go from green to dark in a very quick way. So again, just something to all keep an eye on, and just know that it's in the South. It's creating a foothold. I'm seeing posts all over about it. That means it's only got one way to go, and that's north usually. So if you're in, starting to move into the Midwest and whatever, and you're not prepared, I would say this might be one of the years to get prepared. The next one here, I did want to cover this here. So number one is we have a North Texas town that is speaking out against the use of biosolids fertilizer. This is a YouTube video. If you don't mind, go ahead and cue this up. And JPink, if we can start, maybe start at 30 seconds. I probably should have given him more of a heads
made
up on
from
this.
Human waste that comes from wastewater treatment plants across the state.
This chemical is toxic, and there's no way around it.
These giant piles.
As WFAA has previously reported, biosolids can contain high levels of chemicals called PFAS, or forever chemicals, that scientists say are carcinogenic. Earlier this year, we told you about Johnson County ranchers who say their land is contaminated and their livestock and fish are dying after a neighbor put biosolid fertilizer on his property. At a contentious meeting in Canton, citizens are trying to stop a landowner from spreading biosolids made by another company on his property about 30 minutes outside the city.
I stand with the ranchers, the farmers, the homeowners, and the people in this room and ask you to deny this
He's
permit
nervous as hell.
on the
He's
basis
not
of
his
all
old
forever
rancher. He's not a
chemicals are
public
toxic
speaker.
And is not
He
needed
hates
in rural
this.
Texas.
TCEQ was at the meeting along with a representative from Denali. That's the company that makes the human waste fertilizer to be used in Van Zant County.
What staff have done is looked at everything that exists at the federal level and the state level, and the applicant has met all of those burdens and obligations.
Proponents of
AKA,
biosolid fertilizer.
we don't have any standards really on what to do with this yet, so you're going to have to deal with it until we get some. Go ahead.
Advisors say it's safe, but at least one state, Maine, has banned its use.
It all sounds pretty bad.
Residents at the meeting demanded to know why biosolids are allowed to be used as fertilizer in Texas.
We all can sit here, we know it's dangerous.
The TCEQ representative said their hands are tied because under current Texas regulations, they don't have the capacity to test for PFAS. They say they are waiting for new EPA guidelines that are expected later this year.
The issue
There it
becomes.
is. All right, we can
for the
stop right
state-
there, J Pink, and then I'm going to move into this next one here. And also coming out of Texas, this is the first one of its kind. And get ready, the shitstorm is a brewing. We've been talking about this for a long time. And it all comes down to who's going to be the last person holding the last bag of biosolids. The EPA is sued, and again, this is coming out of Texas. Now that we have one lawsuit, you better believe every attorney in America is watching this and how they go about this lawsuit, so it can be replicated across every state, every municipality, every county in the country. Now, that being said, is what how does that have a direct impact on our industry? Well, still, biosolids are predominantly the organic filler that's used in these transitional products, where you have a mix of, some sort of natural ingredient and then a conventional ingredient, right? If biosolids goes away, I don't think the demand for that type of product is going to go away either. So the question is going to become, what will replace it? Now, I will say this, is that the good news in this is that there are new technologies that are coming online really rapidly that mitigate the PFAS problem. One, there's in situ sequestration on land-applied PFAS. So, for example, cleanup like this is now possible at scale. It's slowly going to be implemented, but it is possible at scale, and there's a lot of companies that are out there that are doing this. One of the cool ones that I have seen over the last little bit is, like, for example, Regenesis is one of them. Regenesis soil remediation. I think of all, I've watched a few of these press conferences they have, and that company seems probably one of the most put together in this. I'll say this too, is that there are on the municipal waste side of things. So for sewage sludge cleanup, there are companies that have developed these proprietary gasifiers to reach temperatures to break those fluoride bonds that you see that make it a forever chemical. It's such a difficult bond to break down because it's such a strong bond that you have to use something like a significant amount of heat, right? So we're talking hundreds of degrees of Celsius in order to break that bond. So it's coming, and then you've got a byproduct that comes from that, right? Depending on the temperature, depending on how much airflow you're having to use to reach those temperatures, and you can get all sorts of products that are going to be coming from that. Sometimes you can even reclaim the pee out of it, right? Which would be the advantageous part of recycling biosolids, is that you can recycle some of the phosphorus out of it, right? So that part is looking like it's still going to be possible. But we are technologically getting up to the point where we can actually break those fluoride bonds and either flare it off or capture it and reuse it as fluorine gas in other industries, right? So that part is getting there. It's going to be the adoption of it, because when we're talking about, like, for example, a gasification system that could do this, I don't know, it might run you $20-30 million. Who's going to be the first one to pick that bill up? Well, I'll say this, is that from what I hear is that people are picking that up. People are cutting their checks for it, and it is. Where again, this delay is going to happen is we're going to have a lot of lawsuits between now and then, right? Because not everyone is going to be able to stroke a $20-30 million check right now off the bat. And what that means is, okay, we see this in various industries, right? Like, there's a reason why the insurance companies stopped insuring people that sold glyphosate. And that's why you saw glyphosate leave a lot of distributors' hands, because they were worried about the risk of selling glyphosate and being one of the ones that held the bag on a lawsuit. Same thing in firearms manufacturers. When a psychopath goes and commits a mass casualty event, a lot of times the firearms manufacturer, even the dealer where they bought the firearm, may be subject to lawsuit. Same instance here, right? I'm not saying this to put fear in anybody, but I know it is going to be a fear of distributors that they are not going to want biosolids in their fertilizer. And I'll just say this too. Like we said before, we've been saying it for a year and a half, 2 years now, if not longer. If you are currently buying fertilizer with biosolids as your blender base, look for an alternative now. And even if that means you have to go all mineral until your distributor is able to catch up, I would put pressure on your distributor to hurry up and find an alternative, because I don't want anyone that listens to us to be one of the ones that somehow, some way gets caught up in some aggressive ass attorney's pipe dream and to be caught holding a bag of that, right? So I just wanted to bring it up that now a lawsuit is filed. Pandora's box is open. All eyes are on it, and it is going to be rinse, recycle, repeat until this shit is all corrected. And it's not going to be it's not going to happen in 1 year, but this is going to be a 5-10 year shit show of finger pointing and excuse making and everything above and beyond. And we still don't quite understand what the timelines on the health ramifications of it are, right? And that is where this shit could get really weird really quick, is if some of these longer term studies start publishing some really bad data. Again, get out in front of it and get it off your books. That's all I'm saying. Use up your inventory, get it out of your hands, and get it off your books. Get 2 years between your last application and now where you have no record of it, and just be done. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wholeheartedly agree. I mean, if there's not enough smoke by this point for you to stop clutching your pearls and, talk about the purported benefits that you've heard from your sales reps for the last 15 years, right? Like, it's over. It's over before it gets started, right? But you have to take stock of where things are at right now, and it ain't looking good. And hell, we've been talking about this, guys, for now over a year, I think, right?
Yeah,
more than a year. This has been our favorite subject of discussion for ever since we've been doing Burn and Return. We've all been sounding the alarm. Watch out, because it's not just PFAS that's passing through biosolids, right? It's not just PFAS. There's all manner of things that are not accounted for in biosolids, and PFAS is one, but whoops, maybe we shouldn't be ingesting crops that are contaminated with, say, fluorinated quinoline antibiotics. Maybe we shouldn't be ingesting crops that have birth control pills. Maybe we shouldn't have crops that have fluorinated selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Maybe we shouldn't do any of that, right, Matt and Ryan? I mean, this is just the beginning of things that we do that turn out not to be such a good idea after all.
And Mark, you said after all the ovens, after running the biosolids, and it has gone through a cleanup process, will there be a use case scenarios for it? Absolutely, 100%. And there's a monumental amount of money being invested in that research right now. In fact, I've got buckets of it at my office that was sent to us for research purposes, and I know we are not the only ones that are looking at it right now. There are lots of people, and it's coming with PFAS reports, and they pass every stringent EPA potential regulatory limit testing imaginable, and so. Are you going to see a guaranteed PFAS-free label? I don't know. I would say I would bet that you will see that within the next 5 years. Brent said there's a 3-year backtrack on this. I would agree, and I don't know, but Pandora's box is open, and boy, it is just keep an eye on it, because over the next few years, it's just going to get wilder and wilder, the stories that are coming out of it. All right, let's check out this week's returns. La, 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 la. La 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 la.
I'm back.
I'm back as well. Florida Association honors Jorgensen with DSA Award. Andrew Jorgensen, CGCS, the Director of Community Maintenance Operations for On Top of the World Communities in Ocala, Florida. Man, there's a lot of good guys that come out of Florida. I tell you what. Was named the recipient of Florida GCSA Distinguished Service Award. He received the award July 19th during the association's annual meeting held at Sailfish Point Golf Club in Hutchinson Island near Stewart, a very cool area down there. The award is presented annually to a member who has performed outstanding achievements as a golf course superintendent and who has given his time unselfishly for promoting golf course management and unification of the Florida GCSA. I was very surprised and humbled to receive the award. You never serve thinking you're going to get awards. You do it because it's the right thing to do. He's been a director of golf course maintenance operations, overseeing 81 holes of golf for On Top of the World community since 2005. He has an associate's degree from Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College in Tifton, Georgia, and a certificate in turfgrass management from the University of Georgia in 2013. He's been a superintendent since 2002. Anywhere from Southern Woods Golf Club, Sugar Mill Woods Golf Club, World Woods Golf Club, and he's immersed himself in service, almost immediately hosting Seven Rivers GCSA meeting and golf outing. Anyway, absolutely lights out, knockout job. Thank you for your service. You have an absolutely stunning course down there in Ocala. I looked at that picture. I looked at a few others, and that we need more people like that in this industry. That is for sure.
Most definitely. Yeah, you guys talked about lawn site. I can remember back in the very, this is like 02, 03, the old GCSAA forums, Golf Course Superintendent Association of America. And that's where, of course, I got my start on the golf course side. And I remember reading posts from Andy way, way, way back in the day. And always a very unique perspective. Always a guy that tries to, like us, figure things out on his own first before he settles on a solution. So, I've learned a lot from him over the years. Don't know him, have never met him in person, but have always admired from afar and was glad to see him earn this award. So congratulations, sir.
And then we have an article here in the LA Times, so I'm sure that it's going to be great. I do that right here. We're talking about artificial turf, right? LA Lawns wastewater, but artificial turf is actually worse. Okay, here we go. The artificial turf industry has had a great deal of success convincing millions of people that its short-lived, non-recyclable fossil fuel derived product is somehow good for the environment. Were there a greenwashing hall of fame, this would be in it. In fact, it's clear artificial turf is bad for our ecosystems as well as our health. Artificial turf exacerbates the effects of climate change. On a 90-degree Los Angeles day, the temperature of artificial turf can reach 150 degrees or higher, hot enough to burn skin. And artificial turf is disproportionately installed to replace private lawns and public landscaping in economically disadvantaged communities that already face the greatest consequences of urban heat island effect, in which hard surfaces raise local temperatures. Artificial turf consists of single-use plastics made from crude oil or methane. The extraction, refining, and processing of these petrochemicals, along with the transporting and eventual removal of artificial turf, comes with significant carbon footprints. It's full of PFAS.
That too.
Just going to say it one more time. It's full of PFAS. Tobacco companies don't intentionally add carcinogens to cigarettes. They're built into the product. It's kind of like how PFAS work in this particular instance. Anyway, it goes on to talk about pretty much every legitimate argument for not installing artificial turf. And I got to say that this may be one of the few times I've read an article in the LA Times and I was like, it's a little extreme, but not bad.
They got a point there, right, Matt? They got a point there. And
not bad.
This is just highlighting how maybe people have been sold the idea that, okay, you have artificial turf, no need to mow, no more fertilizer, no more irrigation. But they left out the other part of it, right? They left out that other part where this is not a recyclable material, first of all. Second of all, I kind of understand where the PFAS on the artificial is coming from. And, that is because the PFAS is used, for example, as what they call a mold release agent. And what that mold release agent is when they're molding the blades of grass, in the manufacturing process, you need an agent to keep that hot molten plastic from sticking to the molds being used to create that plastic material. Because PFAS, of course, are like Teflon or similar in composition to Teflon. So that's where you're getting it from. But yeah, artificial sounds good if you're only focusing on the maintenance of a turf area. However, be aware of what you're doing because, you know, Matt, I'm thinking about how much artificial turf is being installed here in Hawaii on sports fields. And it's kind of an incredible amount. Now, you know what I'm thinking about? What is going to happen when that sports field reaches its end of life and it must be taken up and redone?
What a great question for DeMay. What does that entail?
We'll just
What
pick it up,
happens,
take it to the
Ryan?
truck stop, put it in the ocean. It'll be fine. Kidding. I'm kidding.
Ay-ya!
Kidding. You know, there is I can't remember where it's at. I think it's Maryland just passed a bill in their state legislature. I believe it's Maryland for a chain of custody process that has to be followed as far as like, you know, when it's manufactured, and then obviously when it gets disposed of, that it ends up for sure. Now, how that's going to get policed and backed up and all that, I don't know. I haven't gotten to the specifics of that. But, you know, they make a good point here that the greenwashing, as they call it, right? That, well, hey, you know, you save water and there's no pesticides and this and that. Like, there's a trade-off for everything that we do, right? And turf will teach you that very quickly. Turf grass, I should say, will teach you that very, very quickly. That no matter what you do, there's always a trade-off. And in this case, when it comes to the surface selection, I thought this was a good, fair and balanced article from the Los Angeles Times, gentlemen, that you know, really sought to kind of drive a stake in the heart of the whole. Well, you know, hey, it's not real grass. You know, turn on the irrigation and
don't have to mow, don't have to fertilize.
Gardener.
Yeah,
isn't out there, you know, spraying all that glyphosate. Or how do they say it? What's the way? Glyphosate. Glyphosate.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Hurts to say it.
Glyphosate.
So in any regard, I think the moral of the story here, gentlemen, is that maybe between the biosolids thing and some of the turf stuff, people are waking up here to what else is going on, and that people that know what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, when they should be doing it, all those things that maybe like the folks that listen to this program will be more revered and compensated for their work. So let's hope, right? Instead of the, I'll say it, chuckle fucking in truck. Sorry, I said it fast enough.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Again, if you're interested in learning more, you can check us out, patreon.com/burnovertime. In fact, we're going to go hang out with the patrons now. Let them choose the title of this week's episode. Don't forget on Sunday, today is Sunday. Coming up on Wednesday, we have our Wet and Wild Wednesday. I'm sure we'll have something cooked up there. That'll be a good time. We have an endless amount of people that are writing in right now with various situations that, of course, we can cover. So if that is you, by all means, mail us at mail@thegrassfactor.tv, and we'll cover it then as well. We'll catch y'all on the flip side. Have a good week. We'll see you. Bye.
Pussy.